Candace Owens, everybody's favorite degenerate, has once again returned, this time on Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan has really been making the rounds lately. Candace Owens versus Piers Morgan on a slew of issues, many of which we're probably not going to be going over all of them. But she's going to talk about the COVID vaccine, which I don't even know why that's still a thing. So no, before you jump down my throat and start accusing me of talking about old topics and this is old news, Hunter, get with the program. Hey, I'm just covering what the conservatives are blabbering on about, and apparently they still haven't moved on, okay? Don't be screeching at me when it's the conservatives that won't move on. We'll start with them talking about why did Candace really leave the Daily Wire?
Her new independent show this week. She's previously described me as dishonest, a snake, and a toddler. But in the true spirit of Uncensored, I'm delighted to say Candace joins me now for our first ever interview. So finally, Candace Owens, we get to do an interview.
I'm very happy to be here, Piers. I promised. And honestly, credit to your producer, because she just was like, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So
I have a bunch of ruthless Rottweilers of both genders who didn't let it go. And what did you want? Because you are a fascinating public figure. There's no question about that. I think we're going to have a fascinating
maybe a fascinating case study in retardation.
I do want to go into some more detail before we start, though, to show the level of my generosity in giving you this platform on my show, given some of the stuff you've said about me. So April 2022, when I launched the show with my interview with Trump, it all kicked off, obviously, you said if my team was unethical and dishonest as the snake Piers Morgan, we'd have sensationally edited this clip of Trump to make it look like he threw a tantrum and asked the cameras to be shut off when in reality the interview was over and we simply wanted to chat off camera. I responded, I bow to your superior knowledge of being a snake, Candace. Tune in on Monday and you'll learn something about real interviews.
Damn! The British roasts are heating up already. We're only 2 minutes in. Damn!
You then said Piers is whatever he has to be on any given day for attention. He's not guided by any set of principles, which is why I say both sides need to stop platforming his sensationalism.
Didn't Candace Owens literally say she was never a victim of racism, even though she sued her college campus and won $30,000 because she claimed she experienced racism?
In March of that year, I accused you of falling for Putin's propaganda when he invaded Ukraine, and I called Putin the new Hitler. You said you're such a toddler, Piers, that's way too old to be seriously entering in a literally Hitler analysis. Keep yourself contained to mean tweets about Meghan and Harry while the adults discuss foreign affairs, NATO, and Western hegemony. In March the same year, you wrote with a picture of Finding Freedom, the most historical thing Piers Morgan has ever read. In January 2022, you said, I find Piers Morgan to be morally inconsistent, which breeds intellectual dishonesty. I welcome a public discussion with him about systemic racism, a topic with which he's impassioned, although apparently not impassioned enough to speak with me about it. Why do you suppose that is? You added, we're all at the edge of our seat waiting for an answer here, Piers Morgan. Well, okay.
You should do that more often. I like when you read mean tweets about Piers Morgan. That was great. I salute you for that. That was wonderful.
Exactly. And the truth is, I actually do want to give you a platform, and I have no problem with that. I would obviously contest much of your characterization of me in some of those mean tweets, but that's fine. We can move on because there's a much more interesting story, I think, involving you, which has played out in the last few months, which everybody knows about. So let's just talk about that. Why did you leave the Daily Wire?
Well, unfortunately, I can't talk about the specific reasons that I left the Daily Wire, but what I can do is respond to whatever reasons were given to the public. And obviously, no sooner did we agree to leave than Andrew Klavan of the Daily Wire did an entire episode stating that the reasons that I was leaving was because I was anti-Semitic and I was engaging in a type of anti-Semitism that was hard to pin down. And that is why in my first episode.
Okay, and this is obviously going to play a role, or this is obviously going to lead into Candace tweeting out Christ is King, which in and of itself doesn't sound bad at all. It sounds very innocuous. However, that specific phrase was actually used, was it by Hitler or by the Nazis, purposely to provoke the Jews during the time of World War II. So for her to have tweeted that, it does come off pretty anti-Semitic since Ben Shapiro is Jewish, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of Ben Shapiro reaping the consequences of even hiring Candace Owens to begin with.
I want to play you what Ben Shapiro told me when I asked him about this on Uncensored. One of the consequences of this war has been a lot of very high passions on both sides, a lot of angry disagreements. You and your company have been at the center of a very high-profile one at the moment with Candace Owens, who's now left Daily Wire. Was she fired, or did she leave of her own volition?
I'm not going to speak to this topic, Piers.
At all?
At all. The only thing I will say is what I've said all along with regard to Candace or with regard to any of our other hosts. I am not in hiring and firing position with the Daily Wire. I'm a co-founder of the Daily Wire. I'm a co-owner of the Daily Wire. I'm not actually in management. And as far as the free speech situation, what I will say is that no company has the obligation to literally pay anyone. The Daily Wire is a publisher. It is not a platform.
Interesting how he's making the same argument that could be made for social media platforms when he himself claims that it's censorship then.
Do you agree with that, Candace?
Also, why are they not talking about it? Why are they like refusing to say anything about it? It just makes it seem so much more suspicious.
Agree with which part?
Well, okay, any of it.
Well, I think that it's interesting, and I'd love to sit down with and debate Ben Shapiro on a number of topics, particularly cancel culture, because I know that he's made some comments in the past that he believes that publishers, platforms should allow people to have different ideas. And so those particular comments to me sound in contrast to what he has said in the past.
I mean, he made the point at the end there that any company, any private company, when it comes to free speech, is not compelled to pay people to work for them. I mean, would you accept that as a principle?
Well, what I would say again is that it just kind of runs into what is wrong. I guess the question you could ask is, what is wrong if CNN fires somebody for having a different opinion? What then is wrong if Fox News fires somebody for having a different opinion? Your answer would have to be that it's not wrong, and that company...
It's not really wrong, depending on what the goal of the company is. It would be wrong if your company's stated goal was to feature diverse opinions of all thinking, okay? But if it's, Fox News, and their goal is to give conservative news, and then they have somebody up here who's like, I'm a liberal, Joe Biden's the best, fuck Trump. Not literally, though, haha. Then, of course, they're going to probably not want that person on the team.
Out of interest, is it true that you signed an NDA? That's why you can't really talk about this in detail.
I cannot speak in detail about any of that stuff.
You can't even confirm whether you've had an NDA?
I am not free to speak about any topic pertaining to contracts signed or not signed. And so...
You see, this is where it gets interesting for me, because you referenced Andrew Klavan from the Daily Wire. I want to play a part of what he said.
Why can they just not say anything? Like, I'm sorry, but it makes it so much more suspicious. I would say the same thing, by the way, if it was like a liberal. Like if they were like, there is no evidence of election fraud. Oh, really? How do you know? I can't really speak on that. I too would be like, that's kind of fucking sussy sounding. Why are you, what?
The Daily Wire parted ways with Candace Owens, and part of it was things that she was saying that we felt were strongly anti-Semitic. And she was doing it in such a way that was kind of hard to pin down, so I was trying to show where these things happen.
So I'm bemused, because I've been involved in a lot of contracts in my time. I've been an employer, I've been an employee.
Did he just say bemused?
I don't understand why somebody from the Daily Wire can be so explicit about the reasons you left, and yet you are not able to be as explicit to defend yourself or to counter what they're saying.
That's actually a very good point. Why is that the case? Thank you, Piers, for bringing that up. Why is Andrew Klavan or whatever the fuck able to say whatever he wants, apparently, but she can't say anything? Ben Shapiro can't say anything?
Amen, Piers. Amen. I think that is probably a question that was on a lot of people's minds. And, you know, what can I say other than what was it that Kanye was saying about contracts? And, you know, I think it is, even if you believe that it is valid for that to happen, I think it is immoral to allow someone to attack someone and to not allow them to defend their name. And so for me, Andrew actually rose to the level of defamation when he started claiming that I had actually said things that I had never said. I mean, he flagrantly lies, and I showed that on my platform when he pretended that I did an episode suggesting that Adolf Hitler burning books was a good thing. I wasn't even speaking about Adolf Hitler. It's a nonsense to think that I would do that on my platform. And it's a trick also. It's meant to make people feel emotional. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she's supporting Adolf Hitler. And I thought it was nasty business. I thought it was extremely nasty business. And, you know, for me, Piers, it's important for me to state my name means a lot to me.
Okay. Enough of this just like random gag order stuff. Clearly, we're not going to find out why the hell she left. But this is really the part that stuck out to me of the whole part of this episode. This chapter, Christians are the most persecuted in the world. Certainly not in America. I would want to see stats for global statistics. Before we even get into this one, we should look it up. Around 365 million Christians are subject to high levels of persecution and discrimination. Christianity and Islam are persecuted in more countries than other religions, and Muslims and Jews are most likely to experience harassment in their countries. Christians and Muslims are the largest religion groups in the world, and they were harassed in more countries than any other religious groups analyzed. So that probably also has something to do with them being the largest religions in the world, that you're also going to see more harassment towards members of the largest religion. Jews also faced harassment in more countries than any other religious group besides Christians and Muslims, even though Jews make up just 0.2% of the world's population. The year 2020 also saw an increase in the number of countries where religiously unaffiliated people, including atheists, faced harassment. Okay, so it sounds like Christians and Muslims and Jews are up there as the top most persecuted religions in the world. Keep in mind, though, that Christians are incredibly privileged in America. When we're talking about the Western world, Christians actually retain a high level of privilege. Hunter proven wrong right in front of our eyes. See, that's what's so funny, my friend, is I never said that Christians weren't. I said, I know they're not in America. I'm not sure globally. And then I looked it up. Danaro Hoops, jumping through hoops to try and get a diss on me, ending up looking like a retard. Nice.
Now, to be clear, I am consistent on all matters. I do not want America involved whatsoever in anything that is happening in Israel. I don't want my dollars sent over to Israel. We should not be supporting Israel. Obviously, Thomas Massey has done a lot of work showing how it doesn't even make economic sense that we have so much debt and yet we're sending money over to support Israel. And the biggest issue, by the way, that I have with Israel in talking about them being above reproach is the fact that they are supplying the arms to murder Christians. Okay. In Armenia, the oldest Christian country in the world, and yet nobody talks about that. For whatever reason, it seems to be the circumstance that when Jewish people die in Israel, it's wall-to-wall coverage. But when Christians die all over the world, nobody talks about it. Everyone wants to correlate everything to World War II. Everyone wants to talk about Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, I think this is sort of a broken clock moment. Obviously, our involvement with Israel is fucked up. And I've never actually heard the argument presented this way. And this is definitely an interesting way to phrase the argument, and it might even appeal to some of the Christians who otherwise think they must defend Israel because it's God's chosen land or something.
And rightfully so, he was a horrific person. But nobody wants to talk about Henryk Yagoda, right? Nobody wants to talk about the Bolsheviks. Nobody wants to talk about the Christian Holocaust. I am tired of the media, exhausted of the media, not speaking about what is happening to Christians all around the world. And it is especially horrific while at the exact same time that it is happening, the slaughter of Christians in Armenia, the arms being supplied by Israel, that the media turns the other way and says, oh, okay, but what about Israel? What about what's happening in Israel? So you know what I'm asking for? Actual equality. Okay, because it seems like this is like a special category, the special relationship that we have. I'm a Christian first, okay? And so my concerns are going to be with what's happening to Christians all around the world because it is us. We are the #1 most persecuted religion in the world. And all Christians watching this need to realize the time is now to start speaking up because we have been silenced about the things that are happening to us for a very long time. And the media is very clearly not our friend. When there is...
So see how she did that there? Very clever, actually, the way in which she used the fact that Christians are persecuted in the world to then bring it back around to this community aspect so that she can then herself act as though she is one of the most persecuted in the world. So now we Christians must stick together. Us Christians are the most persecuted in the fucking world, even though you Christians in America actually have it really fine and dandy. She's pretty much extrapolating in a weird way to try and bolster her own victim status.
Wall-to-wall coverage of Christians being killed in Armenia, Christians being killed in Nigeria, and the treatment of Christians in America and all across the globe today. Then you ask me if I will use my platform and I will use my voice to speak about what's happening in Israel. How about that?
Okay. I think that's a perfectly reasonable point to make. The final question I'll ask you on this issue of the Daily Wire centers around the Christ is King.
All right, we're done with. Oh wait, the Christ is King thing. You know what?
Because it had long been a core slogan of people like Nick Fuentes and other, for want of a better phrase, white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. The Daily Wire co-founder...
Uh-oh. He said the buzzword. He said white nationalist and white supremacist. Uh-oh.
The Daily Wire co-founder, Jeremy Boring, said on X, how is saying Christ is King anti-Semitic? The same way anything becomes anti-Semitic when it's used for the purpose of expressing anti-Semitism. It's like asking, how does a shovel become a murder weapon when it's used to murder someone? This isn't hard. A shovel is not innately a murder weapon. Saying Christ is King is not innately anti-Semitic. It's all about how a thing is used. Saying Christ is King for an evil purpose, like using it as a weapon to express your hatred or disdain for the Jews, is a grave sin. God will not be mocked. Invoking him in vain self-promotion or to troll Jews or to attack your political rivals is to carry forth his name in vain.
That's a pretty strong response, though. Actually, that's a solid response.
What would your response be to that?
My response would be that I am an unapologetic free market capitalist. I think Jeremy Boring, as the co-CEO of Daily Wire, went to the market with his idea on Christ is King, and the market has a right to respond. They believe in what he's saying, and they think that what he is saying is true and is right, then they will support the Daily Wire, and they will...
Is she just not able to say anything because of the NDA, or is this just her way of getting out of answering any fucking question?
What is the context of what you just said to me? As I just said to you, if it was pertaining to Rabbi Shmuley, who I think is a piece of filth, who has gotten away with everything in the media, and I'm grateful that people are understanding that that man has harassed me for 2 years, and I'm grateful that for any person that has supported me in responding to Rabbi Shmuley and his hag daughter, okay? If you are going to pointedly ask me if I am uncomfortable with the fact...
Did she just say hag daughter? Why would she randomly just, like, insult his daughter? That seems very weird. Or was she involved in, like, criticizing Candace also?
That Nick Fuentes also believes that Christ is King. I want every single person in the world to declare Christ is King, whether you believe them to be a Nazi, a white supremacist, a Jew, a Muslim. It is the
She's not getting it. Oh no, it's going. It went in one ear and out the other for her. Oh man, she does not understand it at all. I want everybody to say Christ is King, even if you say they're a white supremacist. No, the context in which it's used. Are they saying Christ is King to troll Jews and they know it makes Jews upset? Or are they saying Christ is King because they are a Christian who genuinely believes that Jesus Christ is King? There's a pretty big difference there.
That's it. That's it. Okay.
Let's turn to, I would say, a less contentious matter, but it's not really. It's Kanye West. I interviewed him at length towards the end of last year. You've been pretty supportive of Ye, formerly Kanye West, even after he tweeted DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He posted, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And you wrote on the social media site Parler, if you're an honest person, you do not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. I mean, I don't know, why would you...
Oh, I remember this one. Remember that stupid fuck Candace Owens saying that that tweet wasn't anti-Semitic? And I already remember her defense. She's going to say it here also. Well, that's actually, that's DEFCON, if you know what that means, actually is a defensive thing. DEFCON does not mean that you're going to do something violent or anything. It actually means to protect yourself.
Seems to me it's a pretty brazen statement of anti-Semitism to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. How else could it possibly how else could it be construed?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you how else it can be construed, because this is one of the things that's fascinating. First, I'd like to point to how interesting it is that the entire world came down on Kanye West, canceled him, took away his contracts, made his entire family come out and make statements against him when he tweeted that he was going to go DEFCON 3 on some Jewish people, I think is what he wrote.
I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. There you go. I think he actually said it was actually going to be on some Jews. Okay, so if somebody said they're going to go DEFCON 3 or something or another to just some Christians, would you be okay, Candace? Or would you be up here screaming and whining that Christians are the most oppressed in the world? He put it in all caps, too. Yeah. He literally said, on Jewish people.
And now we fast forward to today when Israel is literally going DEFCON 3 on Palestinians.
He didn't say some. He said on Jewish people.
Okay, sure. And now we fast forward to today when Israel is literally going DEFCON 3 on Palestinians, and those same media members seem extremely cautious in their language. So the tweet is actual death, but the actual bombs being dropped, for some reason, real violence is something that the media can get comfortable with. I'd like to point to that, because now some time has passed.
Broken clock moment.
But to answer your question of how I could have said that statement, obviously you understand Ye is my friend, and I understood what was happening in his life and what had caused him to say that. He said when he woke up, he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He was talking about specific Jewish people in his life that he believed had been taking advantage of him. And he then produced, and for whatever reason, the media was not interested in covering it extensively, a tweet from one of those people, Harley Pasternak, threatening to put him on a Psych 5150 hold and to drug him, and so that his visits with his kids wouldn't be the same.
Okay, and what does any of this have to do with those people being Jewish? There you go, Candace, okay? If my neighbor, who happens to be black, was constantly bothering me or letting his dog, like, shit in my yard or something, and I was like, you know what? When I wake up, I'm going ham on black people. Like, what the fuck? Everybody would be like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, well, this one black person was bothering me. What does that have to do with him being black? What? It's so dumb.
How Harley Pasternak has not been chased out of Hollywood after threatening to drug someone and take their kids away is the question that you should be asking. Now, I was privy not only to what Harley Pasternak was saying to him, but also to what 4 other happened to be Jewish people were saying to him at that time.
Oh, happen to be Jewish people. So if they happen to be Jewish people, why was he specifying so heavily that they were Jewish people? Why didn't he just say people? Why didn't he just say men? Why didn't he just say top executives? Why didn't he just say former managers? There's a lot of things he could have said that would have just as easily categorized the people he was apparently going to go after or something without saying that they were Jewish.
And I think what happened is that he snapped and he suddenly wanted to aggressively attack those individuals and basically say that he was tired.
Yeah, but Candace, none of that changes the fact that
none of that changes none of it changes it from being anti-Semitic. You know, guys, I snapped, okay? I was really depressed. That's why I started hailing Hitler. I swear it won't happen again unless I get depressed again. I promise, okay?
None of that changes the fact that what he tweeted was clearly anti-Semitic. When you say, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, that is a statement of anti-Semitism, indisputably. The idea that you would be dishonest if you didn't see that for what it was, whatever the circumstances, whatever was going on behind the scenes, for a guy with his massive following, which I think we can agree was indisputably massive at the time, for him to state that in public on a social media platform was a brazen act of disgusting anti-Semitism. And all right,
just to be clear, I didn't tweet on Parler. I, on my podcast, gave a full statement saying that if we're being honest, you did not think that he was going to go kill some Jewish people. You didn't. And I think that if we're being honest,
well, you said
it doesn't. Again, why? So he doesn't have to go out and start killing Jewish people for the tweet to have been anti-Semitic. And also, I thought DEFCON 3 was actually a defensive military position or something. Candace, when are you going to bring that up?
For an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. I did think it was anti-Semitic. Everybody did.
Okay.
But you didn't. Why?
No, because I knew.
She's like, okay.
No, because I knew the backstory, so I had more information than the public had.
Okay, so then how could you ever say anyone would be dishonest for not knowing that information or for not seeing it from your perspective now that you've just admitted that you actually had the backstory? You actually had inside knowledge. Remember Candace's tweet? It was, you are dishonest if you genuinely think that what Kanye said is anti-Semitic. She is the one being dishonest because she is now claiming, because of her personal inside knowledge, that justified her saying it wasn't anti-Semitic, and anyone who disagrees is being dishonest. That makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, but the statement is unambiguous. The statement had no clarification. It was unambiguous. It was clear.
Yeah, and then when he did try to clarify it, nobody paid attention. So can I ask you, why did you try to book Harley Pasternak after you saw what he tweeted to Kanye?
No, I booked Kanye himself, and I interviewed him for 2 hours.
Yeah, but were you interested? That was thereafter when he showed the tweets of what Harley Pasternak said to him. Were you outraged by the idea that a Jewish man would threaten to drug someone so they couldn't see their family? Were you out? Is that outrageous?
Why are you bringing up that he's a Jewish guy? Does it outrage you that a black man robbed this person? Does it bother you that this white man in Florida fucked another crocodile? Like, come on, why are you lumping these people in? There's no point in a Jewish man tried to drug him. What does this have to do with them being Jewish? And for her to still be arguing it's not anti-Semitic while now still lumping this behavior that she thinks is very despicable and bad, she's lumping this despicable behavior in with Jews. Or she's lumping the reason for their behavior, she's like linking it to the fact that they're Jewish. It is so desperate.
Is that anti-black? Do you think that that's racist?
Well, whatever the circumstances of that wasn't.
No. Piers, answer the question. Because
No,
you're
there's
quick-
literally a huge difference between somebody who happens to be Jewish, somebody who happens to be black, versus somebody saying they're intentionally going to target this group of people, Candace. I've had more intelligent shits than Candace Owens, dude.
to say that a threat that you perceived, the language of him saying that he was going to go DEFCON 3, and just to be clear, DEFCON 3 is a defensive military position on some Jewish people, or Jewish people as a whole. I don't remember the exact tweet. You just said that you felt that was clearly anti-Semitic. And now I'm asking you, is it clearly racist? What is it clearly when a Jewish man says to a black man, okay, that they're going to drug them out of their minds, effectively MK Ultra them, and your
She's
visits with
just not getting it. Oh, no.
and your visits with your children will never be the same. Because if you're asking me between the two, which is worse, it's obviously what Harley Pasternak wrote to Kanye West.
But none of that was intention. None of that had any racial undertone or any kind of bigoted undertone, right? Saying you're going to drug somebody, you'll never see your kids again. Obviously, that's messed up. You shouldn't say that to them. What does that have to do with them being Jewish? What does that have to do with Kanye being black? It's almost like identity politics or oppression Olympics. That's what this reminds me of. You did this to a black? Like, so what does this have to do with them being black or Jewish or anything? You're the one now inserting unnecessarily the race or ethnicity or religion of people. You're doing this.
Okay, but Kanye tweeted it. Kanye tweeted it publicly. What Harley
He did
Pasternak
after
said.
the furore blew
Okay,
over his
sure,
original
but why
tweet.
didn't it trend? Why wasn't there the
He
same
didn't talk
outrage?
about
Please.
one Jewish person. He talked about on
no,
Jewish people.
Why didn't it trend? I don't know, Candace. Do you want to take it up with fucking Twitter? Or are you going to claim to now be an expert of the Twitter algorithm as well?
Asking you why the public was not as outraged as when somebody threatens to drug someone out of their mind as a very serious, real threat. And it was the same person, as he said, was the person who first put him in the hospital the first time.
Right.
You seem to
This
be
is
okay
just
with it. You're just sort of
whataboutism.
like, well,
Yeah, it's whataboutism is what it is. It's like, yeah, he said he was going to, go after a bunch of Jews, but like, what about this one Jewish guy that did this one bad thing one time? It is by definition whataboutism.
Someone okay with it.
His tweet was so much worse. You're talking about taking away somebody's kids, putting them into a hospital, and drugging them out of their mind. Where is your outrage?
Well, I do not know the background to what you're saying.
Why
there.
does it seem to be that is always a circumstance? Like whenever
Candace, with respect,
a
with
person
respect, you
speaks
are
out about how they're
deflecting.
being threatened. No.
Thank
Let
you,
me
Piers.
finish this.
reason you
This is
don't
very
pull it
important.
back.
Piers,
You're
this is very
deflecting.
important. Let me finish this. This seems to be a trend that I have recognized. I saw this with Rabbi Shmuley. For 2 years, okay, this rabbi openly threatened me, my family, my livelihood. Him and his daughter did this for 2 years. There was no outrage. Why does there seem to be this double standard that specific Jewish people, if they want to, can threaten the lives of black people?
Well, maybe.
She's just doing identity politics. Can somebody please call her out on this? Can the right please wake up and realize that they are following identity politics here? Every time they follow Candace Owens deeper and deeper into the void, they're just walking deeper and deeper into identity politics. What the fuck is this bizarre posturing of, but a Jewish guy and the black man and the blah, blah. None of this had anything to do with it.
Black people. I'm giving myself as an example. And there's not the same response. Like, why wasn't Rabbi Shmuley trending for 2 years over what he said
I
about
don't really, to be honest with you, we're going to come to Rabbi Shmuley, and I might share a lot of your views about Rabbi Shmuley. But the point that you seem to be wanting to move on from and deflect from.
I'm not moving on from it.
is
I'm
that
telling you that I had more information.
Your response was to Kanye saying, when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
Piers, you've said this 3 times, and we
I know,
talked about it
because
3
you
times.
don't
I think
want to
your
answer the
audience is getting
question.
bored. I told you the reason why I said that is because I was aware of multiple people in his life.
But why did you say other people that don't agree with your perspective, despite the fact that your perspective was only informed by insider knowledge, are then dishonest? It doesn't answer that question, Candace.
Like that we're
Candace,
doing
I know.
something. There's no point in belaboring the point. I've answered your question.
I'm simply
You cannot
asking
accept
you.
it.
I'm simply
You've
asking you when you
simply
say
asked the same question 3
if
times.
you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You're saying that I'm dishonest because I believe what he said was anti-Semitic. And I think
No,
that's
I am
ridiculous.
saying that. Well, first off, I'll just to start back at the beginning of this interview. I think you're dishonest for a lot of other reasons. So please don't harp on this one tweet. But yeah.
Please just don't stick on this one tweet, okay? Can we please just move on? I have other things to say. Just stop holding my feet to the fire.
Because you flip-flop on your positions the entire time. That's
Like
the reason
what?
why I tweeted
Like
those things
what?
about you.
Fail.
But
Like what?
everything. COVID, you flip-flopped on COVID. You flip-flopped
didn't.
on BLM.
No,
At 1
Piers,
minute you were...
no! He's letting her do this. Oh, man. He's letting her yank him into a new topic. I don't think we're ever going to see this Kanye thing get resolved.
supporting BLM, and then you're like, my son's out protesting, it's amazing. And then when they're burning stuff down, I don't find you to be someone that actually takes meaningful risks and says what you believe. You kind of take both positions all the time.
Well, actually,
So I
I'm
think
not.
She's just like randomly insulting him now. Just answer the question, Candace. Why are you so scared to answer the question?
I'm
Sean,
not an
I think you're a
ideologue
chronic
about any of
fencer.
it.
So
I'm
don't
not
think,
an-
don't think,
Well, no,
don't
unlike you,
pretend that the
Candace,
first time I ever
with
suggested
respect,
you were
I'm not an
dishonest with the
ideologue about
Kanye
any of
tweet.
these things, right? So you want me
Okay.
to be an ideologue? You want me to stick to one side on everything?
No,
I
I'm just
don't do
saying that it seems like once the conversation cracks, and this is a lot of people in media, they don't take risks. They deliver the government talking points, and then they move once it kind of becomes okay to question the government. So COVID, this was the prevailing narrative. You were like,
So that's why we got on the fucking COVID vaccine now. Candace is so desperate to get away from this one topic that she's now just completely pivoting into something else.
someone like me, anti-vax, trying to kill someone, all of these things. Well, I didn't get the vaccine. My family didn't get the vaccine. And now we're on the other side of this thing, and people are like, well, maybe I had it wrong. Maybe I have some regrets.
What do you think
why
I've
don't you
expressed
stop
regrets over?
going with the mainstream
hang on,
narrative in the
hang on.
beginning?
She's just
Let's just
now see how she's moving it into the COVID thing, because that's a topic she's personally really comfortable with. So she's like, let's just get to the COVID thing. You were inconsistent on that, weren't you? She probably doesn't have any evidence or doesn't really know, but she's just hoping to get the conversation somewhere else. It's dishonest, and it reveals that she herself probably doesn't even believe the stupid shit she tweeted about Kanye West.
Talking. What do you think I've expressed regret about with COVID?
Well, let me ask you, are you still standing by all the stuff you said about people?
Oh, I knew it. I called it. I literally just said, I bet she doesn't even know what he said. She's just saying this to try to move the conversation on. And now she's unironically trying to, on air, post hoc justify the stupid shit she just said. You're all inconsistent about the COVID thing, aren't you? Well, what did I say that was inconsistent? Well, what is your opinion now? And is it still consistent?
People being idiots for not getting the vaccine?
Yeah, the only thing I changed, because the scientific advice changed, and I've accepted that if there was another health pandemic, I would not rush to accept scientific advice in real time as actually 100% irrefutable, never to change, because science evolves, and especially in a health emergency. The one thing I have said I changed my mind over, because the science advice changed, was that originally they advised that if you had the vaccine, then you could not transmit the virus. And I was then very censorious towards people who simply refused to have the vaccine, because I said, it's not about you.
Why is she smirking like this? See, this is one thing that is an obvious sign of a person who is really stupid, okay? If you change your opinion on something based on the evidence, you're doing the smart thing. Because your opinion that's originally formed should have already been built upon some kind of an evidence or foundation. It's like that old saying, right? You can't reason somebody out of a position that they never reasoned themselves into. It is literally that. First, the preliminary studies suggest one thing. So we say, hey, this is what the data suggests. Then the data changes and you say, okay, actually, I was wrong there. The data is now saying this. You're being a smart person who is following the evidence. Stupid dumb fucks like Candace Owens, who's simply a result of far too much inbreeding, will then try to smugly act as though, so you're changing your opinion, so then you're a grifter, Because to them, with their little bird brain, being a strong, smart person is standing by your opinion no matter how much evidence contradicts it. To them, you just sitting there and saying, nope, I'm right, and sticking your head in the sand, that's being intellectual. And adjusting your opinion based on the evidence, how dare you? Now all of a sudden they're going to smugly look down on you. They don't realize that they're exposing their own retardation. If you think that changing your opinion based on the evidence is anything other than just what smart people do, you are a fucking retard.
It's actually about your ability to transmit it and maybe infect more vulnerable people.
Also, there's also evidence to show that getting vaccinated did reduce transmission. I don't actually ever remember where it was like 0 transmission, 100% no transmission. But like, you can look at the studies that show people who are vaccinated versus people who are unvaccinated, and the viral load that they are able to transmit is significantly less for people who are vaccinated.
It was
Well,
selfish.
that's a pretty big change.
Well,
Because
hang
just so
on,
we're
hang
clear.
on. Let me finish. And I was very censorious, way too censorious. I've admitted that. Shouldn't have been so censorious.
See, she can't fathom. See how she's smugly smirking? To her, this is a big win that somebody else is intellectually honest enough. And yes, I know, I can't believe I'm saying that about Piers Morgan of all people, but she cannot fathom anybody being intellectually honest enough as to change their opinion based on the evidence, because she just believes stuff because her tummy and Jesus tells her this.
When the science advice changed and said, actually, there's now evidence that suggests, and in fact, it looks clear, the evidence, that if you have the vaccine, it makes little difference to your ability to transmit the virus or not, then I changed my position. And when I was asked about that later, I said, absolutely. I should not have been so censorious to people who didn't have it, because at that point, it becomes personal choice. But if you ask me on the wider picture, do I think the COVID vaccines were a good thing? Absolutely. Do I think they saved millions of lives? Absolutely. Do I think the deliberate attempt to discredit all science involved in the COVID pandemic is a dangerous, dangerous thing for society? Absolutely. Do I know lots of people who died from COVID who would potentially have been saved by a vaccine if it had been there when they caught the virus? Absolutely. So do not take
my grandpa died from COVID.
One clarification about the ability of a vaccine to prevent transmission as
Yes, I'm trauma dumping on Maine.
being some great mea culpa that I think...
That's a huge mea culpa, Piers.
Well,
That's a
actually, it's
huge
not,
mea
because-
culpa.
actually,
It's
it's
a
not.
huge mea culpa, because that means that you
It's not. All
want
it comes
people
down-
to go
no,
out and
all
to
it
get
comes
an
down to-
experimental vaccine in their arm.
Yes.
It's not experimental. By definition, it is not experimental. It already went through all the proper testing necessary. It was literally just not experimental.
Encourage them not to listen to independent voices that were saying, hold on. That's a huge mea culpa. People died from the vaccine. So you're talking about people that died from not getting it. There have been scores of people who died from the vaccine. There have been scores of people like my grandfather who got the vaccine and then were dead within 1 year because it led to their
Is there any evidence that they died from the vaccine, Candace?
dementia suddenly spreading and,
You have
or
no
advancing
idea. With
rather in a way.
respect.
Stop.
Oh, sure, yep. They got the vaccine and then had dementia. Ooh, spooky. Do you have any evidence that that was from the vaccine? This is why I say these chuckle fucks would unironically blame the vaccine if they stubbed their fucking toe. They would literally blame the vaccine if they stubbed their toe. They have explosive diarrhea after eating Taco Bell, and then they blame the COVID vaccine and then somehow bite it. It's bizarre. They will do anything they can to just avoid how retarded they are.
Stop. I let you
You
speak
do not
about your
know
mea
that was
culpa.
down to the vaccine, do you?
Okay,
Do you?
first and foremost,
She
they
doesn't
haven't-
know that has anything to do with the vaccine at all. Also, Candace, you can't even remember that you sued a college campus for racism and then went on to say you've never experienced racism. So if anyone has dementia, it's you, fuckwad.
admitted so much. They lied about the 6 feet social distancing. That just came out 2 weeks ago. And you were on the side of all of these people. So don't
They
pretend
didn't lie about the 6 feet distancing thing, by the way. That's another big one that conservatives were, hooting and hollering about, thinking they got a big dub. In reality, they gauged the 6 foot thing based on other transmittable viruses. They figured 6 feet is about reasonable. This was before we knew it was airborne. That's where that standard came from. Them saying they lied about 6 feet is not true. That was based on other viruses as well.
that's a small mea culpa. People died from blood clots pertaining to the vaccines that you were telling them to rush out and get, okay?
People
so
died
had they
from-
have
oh, hang
waited and
on.
perhaps listened
Do
to
you
independent
agree-
Nobody died from getting it, Candace. You have no evidence that anybody died from the vaccine. There's more evidence that people have died from listening to you blabber on.
Right,
who understood that there was some government. No, I let you talk about your mea culpa. Had they have paused and listened to independent voices who have, I think, probably a greater strength when it comes up to standing up to government initiatives, because we recognize that the government is not our friend, and we recognize that the government is not.
Yeah, the government got like a couple things wrong. Meanwhile, the fucking independent voices were the ones saying that it was going to make you magnetic, that the vaccine was going to make you start sticking to the microwave or some crazy shit. These independent voices got everything wrong, and you guys harp on like one or two things that adjusted based on the evidence. And even if they were technically like correct about some stuff, it was based, or they were only correct by chance. They were just throwing shit at the wall. Trump did it. The vaccine's bad. 6 feet is made up. Blah, blah. And then it comes out that they're like, oh, 6 feet actually was based on other viruses. It wasn't really necessary for COVID, it turns out. Oh, we were right. The independent voices are right again. That's right. Like, no, you weren't. You just said a bunch of stupid shit rapidly and happened to get one thing right. You're not Nostradamus over here, okay?
maybe those people would be alive. Maybe my friends who had miscarriages and my friends who were saying that it was impacting their menstruation until the government was ready to admit that 7 months later. If you had listened to people that were telling you their own experiences, someone I know that went completely blind in one eye because of some weird ocular clot. So don't pretend.
Ooh, wow. I bet that was because of the vaccine, right, Candace? I'm sure there haven't been weird kind of medical things happening all the time. And it's not just some correlation, because there's also at the same time that weird medical things happen, that there's also a massive vaccine going around globally.
And that's a small thing.
None
I just
of
want to
which-
say,
none
I'm
of which
happy to
you know.
accept that you changed your mind.
Let me respond.
But don't pretend it's a small thing.
Let me
People
respond.
died from the vaccine.
Let me respond.
And,
None
and
of
by
it-
the way, I
let
want
me-
to be clear for people watching this. He's saying still get it. I'm saying still don't. Just so you can hear a different opinion, do not allow the government to put that in your arm.
Okay.
God's system works. The
Okay.
government is not fixing you in any
Okay.
regard.
And do you feel the same way?
God's system works? Then how come people died of COVID? How come people need glasses? Why do people still need antidepressants, Candace? Why does anybody need surgery? Why do we have cancer? Why are you so fucking ugly? There's a lot of things that God's system does not at all solve.
And do you feel the same way about the flu shot?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I haven't gotten a flu shot since I was like 12.
Okay. And things like polio and measles and all the other shots
Yeah,
we
I don't
give
just,
kids?
let's skip to the point. You might know this. I don't vax my children. They are not
Right.
vaxxed. We travel the world. My children are never sick. I am proudly,
Oh no, her poor kids. Oh no.
as you media terms it, anti-vax. I'm very aware
Okay.
of the
By the way,
psychological
entirely
wounds
your
of
right.
coming up with names for
You- you
people
can-
for
you
making
can-
sensible
okay.
decisions. I don't believe, Big Pharma is not God.
I understand.
Okay?
You
Big
have to be
Pharma
Nobody's
is
saying
very
this.
much, in
Yeah,
my view.
great. Thank you for bringing up a random argument nobody said, Candace. Please shut the fuck up, for the love of Christ, who is not king.
Getting in the way
Yeah.
of God's
so
designs.
I fundamentally, listen, I absolutely respect your right to do what you
Getting
want
in the
for your
way
children.
of God's design. Is this just vaccines? Like, can I take anti-allergy medication, Candace, or is that too getting in the way of God's design? Hey, also, does anybody here notice that Candace Owens has her ears pierced? Damn, Candace. Why did you tinker with God's design? Huh?
I did the complete opposite for mine. I believe that all vaccines carry risks. By the way, paracetamol carries risks. Ibuprofen carries risks. Any medication,
Does she take any of
you will
this?
find instances of side effects and deaths. Every medication in the world that's ever been created. But do I think overall that COVID vaccines save millions of lives and were an incredible thing done at warp speed in the middle of a desperate pandemic that was killing thousands of people every day? Absolutely, I do. So you and I
You're just
disagree about
simply
that.
wrong.
Well, you
Yeah,
and I
we
disagree
disagree.
about
We're
that.
never going to agree on it. Yeah,
Okay, we don't have
100%
to-
disagree
Okay, we're just going to disagree then? Okay. Yeah, I think it hurts her feelings too much.
on
But
that.
here's the beauty. We don't have to agree about it,
That's right.
right?
But I wish that when you said you were being censorious, I wish that you would have allowed people who strongly disagreed to present their arguments at that time, because I think that a lot of
I
people who are
don't
now
disagree
struggling
with
and
you.
getting blood clots and things of
Candace,
that nature, their
I don't
lives could have
disagree
been
with you.
saved.
I don't disagree with you. I had a lot of people around me dying from COVID in the most hideous, horrendous circumstances. The co-presenter of the show, the morning show I was doing, her husband went into a coma and never really came out of it, and sadly died a few months ago after 4 years. Right? Had there been a vaccine when he got the virus in March in the first wave, he might well have lived.
That's right. Even early preliminary Yale studies showed that the vaccine had the potential to save up to 200,000 lives in the early stage.
Yeah, I don't think the vaccine would. I personally don't believe the vaccine would have saved him, and it's an impossible metric to know.
Well, you personally also believe in a sky daddy, Candace. So what you personally believe is literally dog shit.
Because
You
they
don't
can
think the
just say
COVID
if you
vaccine
died-
saved any
Well,
lives?
because I genuinely do not believe that the COVID vaccine saved any lives.
You see, I'm sorry, you're a smart person, Candace. You cannot,
Thank you.
You cannot believe that the COVID vaccines saved no lives. That is a ridiculous thing to say.
It's not. You can't just because you're saying ridiculous and just because you're using a little bit of hyperbole doesn't make that
So
real.
every
It's one
single-
And
thing.
just because you say you don't agree or you don't vaccinate your kids or they never get sick, doesn't mean that you're right.
Scientist in the world. There is not a scientist or
You
doctor.
just said the science changes
Hang on.
literally
Let
5
me put a
minutes
question to you, then you can answer it. Every single scientist and doctor in the world that I'm aware of agrees that vaccines save lives. They may disagree about various points of government behavior during the pandemic. They may disagree about this particular vaccine or another one. What none of them have said is what you've just said, which is it never saved any lives. None of them.
Well, I just want to be clear.
Only you
Whenever
think it
you're
saved
claiming
no
that
lives.
there's 100% scientific consensus, you're lying. Like, whether you're talking about climate change, if you
Name me
make a
one
declaration
doctor,
that
name
there
me
is
one
100%
doctor, name me one
scientific
professional
Oh my
consensus,
God, now she's getting hung up on this.
let
Let me
me
ask you a
you
question.
lied, so I'm just going to correct your
You
lie.
can
by pointing-
literally look at how the life expectancy in America dropped due to COVID, and then you can see the statistics of people vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and the length that they had COVID, how severe it was if they had COVID, their need to go to the hospital, etc. All of these things were carefully monitored and tested, and it was abundantly clear that the vaccinated were not filling hospitals and the unvaccinated were.
Pointing people to websites that can dispute this narrative because it's a fashionable one to say 100% of experts agree. That is,
let me ask you
as soon as somebody tells you there's 100% scientific consensus, they are lying to you.
Let me ask you, can you name me one professional doctor or scientist who genuinely believes, like you, that the COVID vaccines did not save a single life?
I can point you to many because there are anti-vax doctors.
Can you name one?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to point to an entire website because this is actually important because RFK Jr. has played a very large role in my awakening about vaccines and my decision not to vaccinate my children. I recommend you go to the long list of doctors, children'shealthdefense.org. That is his charity.
You know, there's a quote I heard the other day, and it really reminds me a lot of Candace Owens when it comes to the vaccine stuff, and really conservatives on the entire vaccine issue. And it's, those who lack the courage will always find a philosophy to justify it. And I really think that speaks volumes for what we're seeing with Candace right now. She's scared of the vaccine. She's scared of medicine because she's retarded. And she has now constructed an entire philosophy to justify her fear, even when given obvious evidence, like the death rate or hospitalization rate of vaccinated versus unvaccinated people with COVID. She just denies it. Oof, that was painful.